Welcome again to my YouTube channel where I talk about the latest crypto projects to earn passive income with. In this video, I want to talk about a less known tool in the Drip network, called the Reservoir. This is a neglected part of the Drip ecosystem, but it plays a major role in the price setting of Drip. I will show you a video in a few moments that explains how the Reservoir works, and why everybody who is into Drip should get in it, so keep watching because you don't want to miss that important information. I have been reading a lot about the Reservoir lately, and I put in one BNB in here a few days ago because I am so very bullish about the possibilities of the Reservoir, and you should also consider getting into it, especially when the price of BNB is low, like it is right now. Of course, this is not financial advice. I make these videos for entertainment purposes only, so do your own research if you are planning to invest in any crypto project. The Reservoir is basically a liquidity pool where you stake your BNB and earn BNB on every Drip transaction. When you put in BNB in the Reservoir, you get drop tokens in return, and a part of your BNB is used to buy Drip. Drop is a BEP20 token pegged to the BNB Drip pair. There is a 10% tax on every deposit. 2% of the BNB is used to immediately pay rewards to people in the Reservoir. 5% of the BNB is put into the Reservoir, which pays out 2% of its balance every day to all the people in the Reservoir. 3% is permanently locked in the Drip liquidity pool. This means that for every Reservoir transaction, the Drip floor price is hardened. When someone deposits BNB, they are credited with drop. This drop will never be held in an individual wallet, and exists only to show deposits on the platform. Once you're in the Reservoir, you can treat it similar to the Drip Faucet and can either compound your returns or claim them when you like. Claiming allows you to transfer your rewards from the system to your wallet. The more you compound, the bigger your stake is. You can claim the reward anytime, but it's best to keep it on the network to reap the benefits of compounding. You can see the total number of coins or drops you own, and the stake determines the number of BNB that have been staked for the Reservoir. Your compounds and withdrawals are all listed. A player's share of the Reservoir will fluctuate as new players come in and out. To remain at the top, it is recommended to keep adding BNB. Rewards are time-weighted, so players that have been in the Reservoir for longer periods will get rewarded more. Time-weighted rewards are calculated by the number of swaps that take place and the number of other players that get in and out after a user joins the Reservoir. Here's an interesting video about the Reservoir that I recommend from the Easy Investing channel. In the video, they will tell you more details about the Reservoir, how it works, and what the best strategy is to use. I will drop a link to their YouTube and the Drip Reservoir Telegram channel below in the description box. I will now let the video run. I hope you enjoy it and learn something from it.
This is Easy, back with another video, and this is going to be a video on the Reservoir strategy. Lately, there's been a lot of hype building up around the Reservoir, and rightfully so. It's because people are beginning to realize the importance of Reservoir, especially at a time like this. And that's because Reservoir plays a critical role in supporting the Drip network as a whole. It's actually the vehicle that we can use to solidify the price floor of Drip. And right now, people see that we are at the floor of the Drip price, around $30. And now is the time for us to direct our efforts to hardening that price floor, just to make sure it does not dip any lower, but that it stays around that $30 to $35 price range until we're ready to reverse and take off back to the upside. And now people see that attention needs to be placed on the Reservoir so that we can solidify that $30 to $35 price range. So I'm glad that people are beginning to recognize the importance of the Reservoir, but there is a problem. The problem is that a lot of people don't understand how the Reservoir works. And this video serves to make sure that people take the correct approach when it comes to investing in the Reservoir. Keep in mind, the Reservoir is not the faucet. the reservoir serves a different purpose within Drip Network. It's there to support the platform. So we're going to dive into the mechanics of Reservoir. We're going to talk more about its importance in supporting the Drip Network platform. We're going to also talk about the 0.1 BNB strategy. And I want to actually illustrate how if everyone was to buy 0.1 BNB, I want to actually show you its impact on price in the short term and the long term. And once we talk about the importance of Reservoir, the 0.1 BNB strategy, and the mechanics of Reservoir also, I'm going to talk about my personal strategy that I believe we should use to maximize the benefit of Reservoir on the sustainability of Drip and also the price of Drip. All right, so let's get it. Now let's talk about the difference between the fountain and the reservoir as it relates to the price of Drip, because there are some people who may not understand which one is going to have the greater effect or impact on price. And this diagram actually shows you, or is telling you, that the fountain contract has a greater effect on increasing the price of Drip. The reservoir has a greater effect on supporting the price of Drip. And there are so many reasons why the reservoir only supports and the fountain increases beyond what this diagram is showing. But this is just going to be the basis of understanding the difference between the two. So let's start with the fountain contract. Okay, the percentage here shows the effectiveness of the fountain increasing the BNB balance, and the 100% here shows the fountain's effectiveness in decreasing the drip supply. Okay, so when a person goes to the DEX, the fountain, and they purchase Drip, correct? When they make a purchase, they're putting BNB into the liquidity pool. And when that BNB goes into the liquidity pool, that's increasing the BNB balance. And why is that important? That's important because when the BNB balance increases, that also increases the BNB value. And Drip derives its price from the BNB value because Drip price is BNB value divided by Drip circulating supply. And that gives you the Drip price. So the higher the BNB balance, the higher the BNB value, and that gives us a higher Drip price. Okay, so that's why the BNB balance is important. And as we see here, the fountain has a 99% effect on increasing the BNB balance. Okay, now the reason it's 99% is because 1% of that BNB is a liquidity provider fee taken out for a liquidity provider fee, and that's put into the reservoir. Okay, so that leaves 99% of the BNB that is going in here for the fountain. Okay, now 100% of the is the effectiveness of the fountain in decreasing the drip supply, and that's because all of the BNB that's going into the fountain is being used to buy drip. So 100% of what's going in is taken out of the drip supply and removing that drip from circulation. Okay, so in this example, we see here that the fountain has a greater effect on increasing the BNB balance and also decreasing the drip supply. So in turn, the fountain has a greater effect on increasing the price of drip. Okay? So that's how this works. And once again, the reason it has a greater effect on increasing the price of drip is because the BNB balance is going up, which increases the BNB value. The drip supply goes down, which makes the drip token more scarce. And when you divide that BNB value by the remaining drip supply, that's going to give you a higher drip price. And the fountain has a 100% and a 99% split in its effectiveness in increasing the price of drip. Okay, so that's the fountain. Now let's go to the reservoir. Okay, now for the reservoir. Now for the reservoir, we can see here that the reservoir has a 98% effect on increasing the BNB balance, but it only has a 45% effect on decreasing the drip supply. Okay, now if it only has a 45% in decreasing the drip supply, then that will also mean that buying from the reservoir or putting BNB into the reservoir is not going to have as much as an impact on increasing the price of drip as the fountain has an impact on increasing the price of drip. And that's because the lower the drip supply, the higher or the more scarce drip is going to be. And the more scarce drip is, the higher the price is going to be, especially when the BNB value is up. Okay, so let me explain the effectiveness of the reservoir. Now, the reason there's a 98% effectiveness in increasing the BNB balance is because when you put BNB into the reservoir, there's a 10% tax. And that tax is split up in different ways. 5% of this tax goes into the reservoir pool. That increases the BNB balance. Okay. 3% is permanently locked in liquidity. Okay. That also increases the BNB balance. Okay. However, when a person enters and exits the reservoir, 2% is immediately distributed to the stakers in the reservoir. So that goes into the hands of those who are in reservoir, and they have the opportunity to sell that BNB. Now, keep in mind, for those of you who are new to investing in reservoir, you're not getting 2% of whatever somebody put in. Okay, that 2% is actually split or divided amongst all of the people in reservoir. And the amount of BNB rewards that you get from that 2% distribution is going to depend on your percentage share of reservoir. So of course, the more drop tokens that you have in reservoir, which represents your share, the greater share you're going to receive of that 2% that is immediately distributed to the LP investors in the liquidity providers in reservoir. Okay, now since 2% is immediately distributed to the liquidity providers, then that means that only 98% of the BNB is going into the BNB balance. Okay, so that's why we have that effectiveness. Now, we could say that this is 99% because 1% of the BNB from the fountain liquidity provider fee comes over to reservoir. Okay, but let's just stick with 98%. Now we see that 98% is the effectiveness to increase the BNB balance. However, the effectiveness to decrease the drip supply is only 45%. Now, the reason that is the case is because after the 10% tax is taken out and that's put into the reservoir and also distributed to providers, we're left with 90% of BNB to create our drop token. Now, half of that BNB is taken and used to buy drip, okay? And then that is how the drop token is formed, okay? So once we buy the drip and form the drop, that pair, that's put into the liquidity pool. And then the other 45% of BNB goes to the BNB balance, okay? So for this reason, the reservoir has a 98% of increasing the BNB balance, but only a 45% effectiveness in decreasing the drip supply. Okay, now because of this combination, the reservoir has a greater ability or effect in supporting the price of drip. Okay, and that's because it's not decreasing the supply of drip. So people need to understand that when you're buying drip from the fountain, you're removing more drip from circulation. So in that case, you're making the drip token more scarce. So you have a greater ability to increase the price of drip because simultaneously you're also increasing the BNB balance. However, with reservoir, you're not decreasing the supply of drip as much as you do in the fountain. However, you are increasing the BNB balance to the maximum effect of the amount of BNB that you're putting in. However, since you're not really decreasing the drip supply as much, since you're only using half of your BNB to buy drip, you're not going to increase the price of drip as much as you could with the fountain. But since you're increasing the BNB balance, you're actually supporting the price of drip because that BNB balance is where the price of drip is derived from. Now, I want to go into a little bit more detail on how the reservoir is there to increase the price floor in support of the drip network. Because yes, of course, that 3% of BNB that is permanently locked into liquidity, that increases the price floor. But there are other aspects of reservoir that locks liquidity and maintains a higher BNB balance. So let's go ahead and look into that. Okay, now by looking at this chart for the drip token, we can see here that the BNB balance was 3.5 thousand the last time we hit our floor. Okay, this time we hit our floor, the BNB balance was at 6.5 thousand. Okay, now I just want to point out that yes, the 3% of BNB that is permanently locked into liquidity, that contributes to increasing the price floor. Okay, but what I want to show you is that this is a significant increase from 3.5 to 6.5 thousand. So there's more at play here that's increasing the price floor drip than just the 3% of BNB that's permanently locked. Okay, so before we get into exactly what is contributing to this significant increase of the price floor, let's talk more about the mechanics of drip, because there are a lot of new investors who are interested in the reservoir who see the importance of, at this time, of solidifying the price floor of drip. So let's make sure that everybody understands how drip works. That way, when I present more complicated information, people can digest that information a lot easier. So let's go ahead and go to the reservoir diagram. Okay, now here's the reservoir diagram. When we talked about the differences between the fountain and the reservoir, we did cover some details of the reservoir, but I want to give you a complete overview of what the reservoir looks like and how BNB is circulated throughout the entire drip network platform and into the reservoir contract. Okay, Now, how does it work? You as a liquidity provider, okay, we're going to try to make this quick. You as a liquidity provider, you put BNB into the reservoir, okay? There's a 10% tax. 5% of that tax goes into the reservoir pool. 3% is permanently locked in liquidity, and 2% is immediately distributed to liquidity providers. Now, one important thing to note here is that from that 5% of the 10% tax, that goes into reservoir. And from this reservoir pool, 2% is rewarded on the daily basis to liquidity providers. Now, for a new person coming into the reservoir, you might think that, hey, when I invest into the reservoir, I'm getting 2% every day, right? That's more than what I'm getting from Faucet, the Faucet contract, which only pays me 1% per day. However, that's not the case. The reservoir is not paying you as an individual liquidity provider 2% per day. What this is saying is that 2% of the entire dividend pool is being distributed to the entirety of the liquidity providers. So what's happening here is that 2% of the dividend pool is actually split up and divided and distributed to all of the liquidity providers based on their share of the liquidity pool. So of course, if you have a larger percentage share of the liquidity pool, then you will receive a greater amount of that 2% distribution. Okay? So that's a 2% that's distributed daily on a daily basis to liquidity providers. Your 5%, your 3% that's locked, and then your 2% that is immediately distributed to providers from every time someone comes in reservoir and every time someone goes out of reservoir. So this makes up the 10% tax. Now, what's left over after that tax is 90% of BNB. That 90% of BNB is used to buy drip and create your LP token, which is put into the reservoir pool. Okay, so half of that BNB is used to buy drip, paired to create drop, and then the other 45% of BNB is put into goes to the BNB balance. Okay, now also some of the BNB that from the reservoir pool is actually paired with drip from the Faucet pool, and that drip comes from the compound transactions of the Faucet. So as people compound on the Faucet, that drip goes into the Faucet pool, but then some of that drip is actually paired with BNB from the reservoir, and that's added to liquidity. Now, the reason this is added to liquidity is to ensure there is enough liquidity to support the buy and sell transactions on the DEX. That way, there's not any slippage or very little slippage compared to what you will get if you were to buy from PancakeSwap. And this mechanic actually incentivizes people to buy drip from the Drip website because they don't have to worry about the additional fees that's related to buy and sell and buy transactions. Okay. And of course, if you have more people coming to the website, then they're more likely to interact with the website and use the additional features of that particular platform or website. So this is how the reservoir actually works. Of course, when you get into the reservoir contract, what you're essentially doing is you're putting your BNB in and you're buying drop. That drop, of course, represents your share of the liquidity pool. Now, I have a few notes here off to the side, and this is what is going to really explain why more than just this 3% of BNB is permanently locked into liquidity. So let's talk about these notes. Okay, now I have some notes over here on the side, And these notes are going to explain exactly why there is more than just 3% that is locked in liquidity. Okay. And of course, the 3% is permanently locked, and that contributes to the increase of the price floor. But with Reservoir, there is more that's locked in liquidity that also contributes to the rise of the price floor. And of course, we see that in the price chart, right? We went from 3.5 thousand to 6.5 thousand, which is a significant amount of BNB that's contributing to a higher price floor for Drip, right? So more than just that 3% is actually helping us to solidify the low level prices for Drip, right? So let's talk about that. What can be contributing to this? The first note, the purpose of the Reservoir is to support the Drip platform, right? So people get into the Faucet because they can earn that 1% daily ROI. But if you read the white paper, the purpose of the Reservoir is so that liquidity providers can support the Drip platform. And I went into the Drip Reservoir, the chat room, the new one that we created, and people are talking about what ROI you can get back. But I need you to understand, we need you to understand that the Reservoir is that's not the main reason we get into the Reservoir. Of course, there is an opportunity to earn a decent ROI being a liquidity provider in Reservoir, considering the ROI or distribution of BNB rewards from various transactions. However, that's not the reason people get into Reservoir. The primary reason you're in Reservoir is to become a liquidity provider and support the Drip project. If your main purpose is to get a higher ROI, you either want to be a whale in the Reservoir and have a greater share of the Reservoir pool, or you can get your ROI from the Faucet contract and earn your 1% per day. But if you are not putting enough BNB into Reservoir to where you have a greater share of the pool, especially if there's a collective effort with everyone putting BNB into the Reservoir, that's going to make it much harder for you to own a greater share of the pool and get a greater share of the BNB rewards. So with that in mind, we shouldn't, if we're the average investor, we shouldn't look at Reservoir as an opportunity or platform that'll give us a greater return than the Faucet, right? The Faucet will give us a greater return if we're average investor. But as an average investor who wants to support the Drip network, the Reservoir is our means to do so. All right. So the purpose of Reservoir is not to earn a greater ROI than the Faucet. It's possible as well. But the main purpose of Reservoir is to support the platform. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to mention here, the next note, is that there's less sell pressure of BNB. Now, although we're earning BNB rewards every day from the Reservoir, some more than others, there's less sell pressure of that BNB as opposed to the fountain contract, right? Because people are in the fountain contract because they want to earn that 1% reward, grow their accounts, and have a passive income. That's the purpose of the Faucet contract. But the purpose of the Reservoir is to support the platform. So since the Reservoir has a different purpose, so when people receive their BNB rewards, they're more likely to compound those rewards versus selling Now, since people are in the reservoir with a different purpose and intent to support the project, you're not going to get much selling. You're not going to have much sell pressure of the BNB token or coin as much as you would the fountain. Okay. And we see this actually plan out on the drop price chart. Okay. So we go to BSC scan and we can see here that since the inception of Drip on April 22nd, by the way, the drop token has been in a constant uptrend, And just recently, which we'll talk more about this, there has been a collaborative effort to put more BNB into the reservoir, and we see that playing out here. So drop is constantly going up. And since the drop token is an LP token of BNB and Drip, that means that LP is not being broken and sold. Because yes, you can take your drop tokens out of the reservoir anytime and get your BNB back. But we don't see that happening here on this chart. What we see is that investors are coming into the reservoir to support the platform. They're not coming into reservoir to earn a daily ROI, sell the rewards, and then once they hit their financial goals with the reservoir, they're taking their drop tokens out and then selling. We're not seeing that. We're seeing that once people get into the reservoir, they're staying. So what this means is that, yes, 3% of BNB is permanently locked from every transaction or every person that comes in and goes out of the reservoir. But when people get in the reservoir and they buy drop, that BNB and that drip is most likely going to be locked for a extended period of time because people are getting into reservoir to support drip and not just earn an ROI by selling their BNB rewards. So the reservoir is there's less sell pressure of BNB in reservoir, and since the drop token is a representation of BNB paired with drip, there's also the removal of more drip from circulation, and that drip is also locked in the reservoir via the drop liquidity pool token. So this is how the reservoir is actually supporting or increasing the price floor a lot greater than just the 3% that is permanently locked in the liquidity pool or the reservoir pool. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But now that we got a better understanding of the mechanics of reservoir, and we also understand the purpose of reservoir, and we also know how or understand how the reservoir plays its role or part in increasing the price floor, now I want to talk about the 0.1 BNB strategy and how that will look if we were able to effectively have a large percentage of drip investors buy 0.1 BNB and put that in reservoir. So let's go there. Okay, now here is the 0.1 BNB reservoir strategy diagram. And what it's showing is first a chart of the BNB and drip supply from the first time we hit the price floor on April 1st, leading up to today. And as you can see, the BNB balance has been increasing significantly, actually. We also see the BNB balance chart from BSC scan. And we can see here that the BNB balance is actually bullish. It's in a bullish uptrend. So we're constantly increasing our BNB balance, which in turn means that we're constantly increasing our price floor. Also, we see here, which I showed you earlier, is the drop balance chart here. And we see here that the drop token has been constantly increasing. People are buying drop more than they're selling. And that's because when people get into Reservoir, they plan to stay because they're actually using Reservoir for what it was intended for. Okay. Also, we have the drop transfer count here, which shows that on April 15th, the investors of Drip put in a lot of BNB in the Reservoir. And we're seeing that play out here. So, of course, we're seeing the big picture that the investors of Drip are beginning to understand the importance of Reservoir, especially at this time when we are hovering around the price floor between $30 and $35. So this is an excellent time and opportunity for us to put capital into the Reservoir to solidify the price floor at that price range, not just for the short term, but this is also going to have a long-term impact on the price floor of Drip. And as we can see, it's because of the drop balance. People are not selling their drop. They're keeping it in there. So as we continue our efforts in putting BNB into Reservoir, we're going to see Drip maintain a price above $100. And of course, I'm going to get to my strategy, which I believe is going to be the most effective way to do that, which is a combination of increasing BNB balance at the right time, but also being able to decrease the Drip supply at the right time as well. And those together will give us the greatest effect on Drip price and the increase of price floor over the long term. Okay, so how does this diagram work? I know some people in the Telegram group, they're a little bit confused. They needed more explanation, but yes, this is a talking point. Okay, I need to actually break down and explain how this actually works. And then after the video, I'll go back into the chat and add some text below the images so you can do a quick search through the Rosebot to pull up this information again, and it'll all be there for you, okay? But yeah, here's how does this actually work. Now, what this says is that if 100% of users bought 0.1 of BNB, which we have 102,000 users as of today, April 17th or 18th, okay? If all of these users bought 0.1 BNB, they would actually buy 2.2 thousand or 10,200 BNB coins, okay? And after the 10% tax, that will leave us with 9,996 BNB. And the value of that BNB is 4 million, okay? So with that $4 million worth of BNB, half of that is used to buy Drip. So that's 2 million Drip that we're buying, okay? And that would actually buy with the price of $35, we would buy 59,000 Drip tokens. Now, after we buy the 59,000 Drip tokens, if we go back to April 1st, when we hit our price floor, the Drip supply on that day was 93,000, okay? So we're doing this estimation of increasing the price floor from April 1st when we had the previous price floor. How much will this strategy of buying 0.1 BNB increase the price floor today, okay? So if we buy 59,000 Drip, that will give us, and we take that out of the circulation from 93,000, that will give us or leave us with 34,000 Drip in supply, okay? Now, if we buy this BNB, 9,000 BNB, and we add this BNB to the price floor of 6,500, that would give us a new BNB balance of 16,400 and a BNB value of 6 million, 6.7 million. Now 6.7 million, okay, let's put this in here. 7 million divided by our new drip supply, that gives us a price of $197. So if 100% of users were to buy 0.1 drip, okay, the effect on price is this, okay? It'll give us a price of $197. Now, this is the insight in this. Once we put BNB in Reservoir, right? From that point, when we hit this new price of $197, Reservoir is going to begin to pay out BNB rewards. So this is still going to drop, right? The balance, the BNB balance is going to drop. However, and the reason it's dropping is because half of that BNB, only 90% or half of the 90% is used to buy drip, right? And 45% goes into the BNB balance to pay out the BNB rewards, right? And also to give us a market cap. But that BNB is there to begin to pay out rewards, right? So this BNB balance is going to begin to drop. So, and that's why we see the BNB balance dropping from April 15th to April 17th, is because this BNB is constantly being paid out from the sales, from the fountain and the reservoir. But what we have to consider here, the impact of the efforts of putting in a 0.1 BNB is that BNB, some of that BNB, or a good majority of that BNB, is now represented by the drop token. But what we see here is that once this BNB goes into Reservoir and you have the drop token, that drop token is most likely going to stay for a longer period of time, which is going to sustain the price floor of drip, or increase the price floor of drip, and continue to contribute to this uptrend of the BNB balance. Okay, and if we continue to have this uptrend of BNB balance, of course we're going to have the higher market cap and a higher drip price. All right, so that's what's happening here. Yes, so this is a good strategy. We want to create as many drop tokens as possible. All right, because once people get into Reservoir and they understand the purpose of Reservoir, that is just there to support the drip platform, most likely that drop is going to stay in Reservoir, is not going to be broken, and that BNB is not going to be sold. And that's more BNB and drip that's locked in liquidity, not permanently, but it's just locked in liquidity because less people are selling their drop when they understand the purpose and intent of the Reservoir. And that's the purpose of this video here and in Easy Step. All right. So this is the effect of 100% buying 0.1. And it doesn't just have to be 100% of individual investors. It can be 25% of the same investors buying 0.1 BNB over and over again, right? And it's just be a collaborative effort of those who truly want to support the project, okay? And everybody doesn't have to buy 0.1. You might have people that buy 3 BNB, 4 BNB, and those purchases make up for those who's not buying, okay? So you got people that can buy that much BNB all at once, but then you got people who DCA and buy BNB and put that in Reservoir over time. So yes, 100 price floor for drip is possible by using the 0.1 Reservoir strategy. So kudos to you who created the Drip Reservoir chat. Let's keep it going. It's going to change our lives. All right, now this is the effect of 50% of the investors buying 0.1 BNB and putting it into Reservoir. The price will be $74, okay? And everything still applies to this, all right? One other thing I want to point out here is a difference from the drop tokens, from all BNB coming into Reservoir, and just the 3% that's locked in liquidity. What if 100% of investors and 50% of investors put BNB in? How would that 3% that's locked in liquidity raise the price floor from the previous price floor on April 1st? Okay, so we still have the 9.9 thousand BNB that comes into Reservoir. And then we have the 4.9 thousand BNB that comes in from the 50%, because half of 9.9 is 4.9. Okay. So now 3% of that is 299 here and 149 BNB here. And this will raise our price floor from 6.5 to 6.7 and 6.6 here, which will only give us a $29 price floor for Drip. So that just that 3% as locked in liquidity doesn't have much of an effect. But the drop tokens that's not sold, because you have patriots, right? You have patriots who don't want to sell their drop because they're in there to support the platform. So that is what is contributing the most to increasing the price floor. People getting into Reservoir for the right reason. So education on Reservoir is very important. So make sure you guys are sharing this video, because we're going to need more than just the 3% that's permanently locked in liquidity. And that's what's being illustrated here. All right. So I think we got a good understanding of the 0.1 Reservoir strategy. I'm pretty sure you guys will have more ideas. I can't wait for the response that I'm going to receive on this video. And it's going to spark a lot of conversations in the Drip Reservoir chat and also my chat. So now that we understand this strategy, now I want to introduce to you guys a holistic view of the Reservoir strategy, okay, of what we should use to get the greatest benefit of Reservoir to support the Drip platform. So let's go there. Okay, so now it's time for me to explain my strategy, the easy step strategy to using the Reservoir to increase the price floor Drip long term. Okay, now this strategy assumes, which is really true, that small wallets compound and deposit at the bottom of the market and sell at the top. Now, this is important because right now you have smaller wallets who may not have the additional or excess capital to put into the Reservoir, right? However, once the price of Drip is at its all-time high, let's say at $385, at that time, smaller wallets will be more willing to put BNB into the Reservoir because they will have the extra capital to do so. So this strategy capitalizes on the smaller wallets who will have more capital to spare and throw into Reservoir. Okay, so let me just, before we get into the actual strategy, let me break down how this diagram is actually, what this diagram actually means. Okay, now we have the price floor of $7. We hit the all-time high. Okay, a floor 30, all-time high 190. And now I use a ratio to find the new floor, and I took the all-time high from a previous video that I made, the BNB balance and drip supply video, and I put that here. Okay, but let me show you how I calculated the price floor. Now, what I did is I took the ratio of BNB balances from this floor and this floor. Okay, and I got that from here. Now, the BNB balance, let me zoom in here, from the last floor, bring that down, was 3.5 thousand. Okay, and so I took 6,500 and divided that by 3,500. Okay, that gave me a ratio of 1.85, and I multiplied that by the new BNB balance floor of 6,500. Okay, and that gives us a new BNB balance of 12,000. Okay, so by the time we come back to the price floor after the next all-time high, our BNB balance will be 12,000 based on this ratio. Now, right now, BNB is pretty much at its floor as well. Okay, and the last time I checked, the BNB price was about $414. So we're assuming that maybe the next time Drip comes down to its floor, maybe BNB will be about the same price. Okay, So if BNB is $414, we're going to multiply this BNB balance by 414. That's going to give us a BNB value of 4.9 million. Now we're going to find the drip supply. Now, the last time drip came down, okay, it came down to about this level here, okay. This was a strong support. So, when we came down to this support level on March 11th, our drip supply was 58,000. So I'm just going to use that drip supply because this is actually a strong support level for drip. So let's just use that. Okay, so we're going to divide this BNB value by the drip supply of 58.5 thousand. Okay, and that gives us a price of $85. So what this means is that once drip goes up to its next all-time high of $385, if it goes to that price, when it comes down to the price floor again, that price floor could potentially be $85 based on the ratios that we use. Okay, so that's how I got the price floor or the price of $85, $86 here. Okay, but I'll also have 57. Now the reason I have $57 is because I wanted to have a price range. Okay, so this means that the price floor can be anywhere between $57 and $86. Now the way I got the $57 is I went back to the chart and I looked at the percentages. Okay, the drop in percentage. Now when the price dropped from about $170, $190, okay, I'm sure why it has that, all the way down to the current price of about $30, the percentage of correction was 88%. Okay. This time back here, when price dropped from about $58 all the way down to $7, the correction was about 87%. Okay. So I basically took the same percentage. Okay. And I just said that if we drop, actually, what was it, 88? Yeah, this one's 88. No, it's more like 85%. Okay. 85% correction from this price down to $30. Okay. So basically I did the same thing here and applied it to the $385 price target. And if we did it, the same correction, the percentage of correction from $385, that'll bring us down to $57. Okay. But it's very likely because that is the behavior that we have seen with drip. After it hits its all-time high, it corrects about 80 to 85% from there. So that's how I got my the price range for the next floor, okay, which is between $57 and $86. Okay, so that's how this works here. Now, what is this here? Wallets. From doing analytics, we have the a graph of the number of drip wallets that is coming into drip over a certain period of time, right? So I got my data from that. And from the previous floor, we had 3,000, okay? To the next floor, we have, or from the top, from the previous all-time high, we had 3,000 wallets, okay? And then when we got to the floor, we had 7,000 wallets. So as the price corrected, the number of wallets that we had increased, okay? And this information is important because it's going to tell us how many users we're going to have or how many players, and these players can buy BNB, the 0.1 BNB, and put that in Reservoir at a certain point in time, okay? And I'm going to explain when they should do it, okay? Now, once we came from the floor of 7,000, we went up and went to the next all-time high. We had 48,000 users, okay? And then as the price corrected and went to the next floor, we had 87,000 users, okay? And then now from this point, I took ratios from 3,000 to the floor. We had the ratio was 2.3, and I got and then from here to here, from this high all the way down to the floor, the ratio was 1.81. And I took these two numbers and I got the average, okay? And the average between these two is 2.05. So right now, from this floor at $30, we came down to 87,000. And of course, now we're increasing. And we're moving up to this number of users for the next all-time high. So 6.85 from here to here, 6.85 from here to here is 595,000 users. So this says that the next time we get to our all-time high, we may have around 595,000 users based on the behavior of investors in Drip, right? And by taking this average from the top to the floor, by the time we get to our next floor from this all-time high of 385, we're going to end up with 1.2 million users. That's 1.2 million people who can buy 0.1 BNB and put that in Reservoir. Now, I've already showed you the impact of 100% of users putting in BNB in a Reservoir with our current number of users of 100,000. Now, just imagine when we have 1.2 million people in Drip that can do the same thing. Very sustainable project. Very easy for us to maintain a $100 price once people begin to understand or educate themselves on Reservoir and begin to put BNB in Reservoir and raise the price floor. Okay. Now, what is the easy step strategy? Okay. What is my strategy? Okay. Now, with this strategy, the small wallets are compounding at the floor. Okay. They're compounding. Now, why is this important? This is important because by the time the price comes down from the all-time high and down to the bottom, we should have already formed our price floor, right? So whatever BNB we have there in Reservoir in terms of the drop and the permanently locked BNB, that's enough to sustain the price floor that we're at right now, right? That's what we have there now. So we're assuming that we've done what we are supposed to do to solidify the price floor. So now that we've solidified the price floor by putting BNB into the Reservoir as price is coming down, right? Now we're down here at the price floor that we've collectively worked together to form, right? Now that we're at the price floor, now it's time for us to work on increasing the price. All right, you see that? So we've already did our part to support price from the top to the bottom, right? So once we hit our top, we're putting in BNB to support the price of Drip. Now, once it gets to that price floor, now it's time for us to begin on increasing the price of Drip. And how do we do that? We do it through the fountain, because the fountain has proven to be more effective at increasing the price of Drip, right? So now people are compounding at the bottom, right? They're compounding down here now. And while they're compounding, Drip is not leaving the vault, right? Because they're compounding, increasing their deposit balance so they can make a greater amount once the price begins to go up, right? And as they're compounding and accumulating, you have people that actually have capital to buy Drip, okay? Now they're buying Drip and decreasing the supply of Drip. So you got compounding, meaning that Drip is not coming out, right? It's staying in there. And then so nobody's selling their Drip. And then you have people buying Drip, removing Drip from circulation, decreasing the supply of Drip, while at the same time increasing the BNB balance because of that 100% and 99% effectiveness on the fountain, right? So now we're at this point, now we're working on increasing the price of Drip, right? Through the fountain. So now that we worked on increasing the price of Drip, people begin to speculate on the chart, see that we formed our price floor. The new investors come in, right? Because we're constantly seeing those new investors come in to the next all-time high, which we're already doing that. We went from 87,000 to 100,000. New investors are coming in. So now they're buying. Now people are buying from the fountain, right? We went from compounding to more buying with the new investors coming in at this price floor that we formed through supporting through the Reservoir. So now they're buying Drip. So now if they're buying Drip, Drip is becoming scarce. And now through the effectiveness of the fountain contract, the price of Drip takes off into a new all-time high. Bam, now we hit the all-time high. At this point, everyone's educated on the Reservoir. Hey, we hit our all-time high. People start taking the profits, right? Now people are taking the profits, using the profits for whatever they want to use it for. But when they sell their Drip, right, they get BNB. Now that they have the extra capital instead of them selling that BNB for a stable coin or whatever, they take that some of that BNB and they put that 0.1 BNB in Reservoir. And now we're working with 595,000 users. Everyone's educated. Now they're taking the additional BNB and putting that in Reservoir as the price is correcting from the top. Now, as the price is correcting, you have small wallets and bigger wallets who have the excess capital to put BNB in Reservoir. So now as the price is correcting, we're supporting the platform through the Reservoir by adding BNB to Reservoir and getting more drop tokens, right? So now we get more drop tokens, which has proven to constantly be in an uptrend. Once you get in Reservoir, they don't sell their drop tokens. It stays there, right? It stays long term. So now we're forming the new bottom as the price is correcting, right? And as the price is correcting, more users are coming in. As more users are coming in, we find out who the whales are. We find out who those who has excess capital, and then they start putting more BNB in the Reservoir as more users are coming in, right? To continue to form the bottom of Drip as Drip is correcting, right? And then it comes back down to this range. But through our efforts, the next time it may not come down 88, 85%. It may only come down 50, 60, 70%. Okay, so we might have that solidified, that $100 price floor, okay, for Drip by using this strategy. Okay, so by having people begin to buy BNB at the top of the market, now you have small wallets and the bigger wallets taking their BNB. They already have BNB once they sell the Drip because people are going to sell at the top of the market, and they just take some of that BNB and put it into Reservoir, right? And now they're forming the bottom. So now by the time we form the new bottom, which with this strategy will probably be above $100, now we've done our part to support Drip, right? We've done our part to support Drip here, and we begin to form our new bottom. Now that we've supported Drip, we supported the platform. Man, Forrest is a genius creating this. Once we formed and supported the platform, now it's time to begin to increase the price again. And now how do we increase price? We begin to buy from the fountain to decrease the supply of Drip through the fountain, right? Because by buying Drip from the fountain, you're decreasing the supply of Drip 100%. But buying from the Reservoir, you only decrease 45%. So now down here, at the time when people should begin compounding their accounts again and to get ready for the next leg up, at this time, you should be buying from the fountain to increase price. And then after we form the new bottom and we begin to buy and compound again, now we begin to increase the price. And once we hit our new all-time high again, the whole cycle continues. This is the easy step strategy for Reservoir. And if we can apply this strategy effectively by educating the entire community, this platform will take care of us for a very, very long time. And as you can see by looking at these numbers, it is not far-fetched to achieve $100 price floor the next time we hit the all-time high. If we can get the small wallets and the bigger wallets to begin to invest or put their BNB in Reservoir once we hit their all-time high and continue to do so all the way down to the bottom. And keep in mind that the efforts that you guys are having right now, starting on April 12th, a lot more people start putting BNB in Reservoir. Your efforts are going to pay off the next time we begin to correct to our next floor. It's going to continue to play out, okay? So that's the Reservoir strategy video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this really clarified a lot of questions for you guys. I'm looking forward to the response in this video. So this is Easy Step. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, and also be sure to visit my Telegram group. A lot of information there for you. All right, until next time, this is Easy.
Okay, that's it for now. I hope you found out how you can use the Reservoir to generate more passive income. Remember to do your own research and never invest money that you can't afford to lose. If you're also interested in making money with crypto, please subscribe to my channel and smash the notification bell to get an alert when I post a new video. If you need any help or support, please post your question in my Telegram or Discord group, or leave a comment below, and I will reply as soon as possible. Thanks again for watching all the way to the end. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.